My name is Anna and I'm 33 years old. Before last year I was alone, one boyfriend in my entire life, and that ended when I was 23. The years in between were filled with lonely nights, unanswered texts and endless questioning. What's wrong with me? Then something happened. Something that still makes my heart race when I think about it. It started on a cold, rainy Tuesday in November. I just finished work and was walking home, clutching my coat tighter against the wind. My heels clicked on the wet pavement, and I couldn't help but notice how empty the streets felt. That's when I saw him, a tall man leaning against a lamppost, his face shadowed by a hood. At first, I walked faster, instinctively wary. But as I passed him, he spoke. "Excuse me," he said, his voice deep and steady. "Do you have a moment?" I paused, my mind racing. His tone wasn't threatening, it was almost pleading. Against my better judgment, I turned to face him. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He lowered his hood, revealing sharp blue eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, "but I need your help." That was the moment my life changed. The man's name was Ethan. He claimed he'd just moved to the city and was searching for someone, a woman named Clara. He showed me an old photo of her, and my stomach flipped. Clara looked exactly like me, down to the shape of her eyes and the way she smiled. I should have walked away. I should have called it a coincidence and left him standing there in the rain. But I didn't. Ethan's story unraveled like a thread, pulling me in. He told me Clara had disappeared a year ago, leaving no trace. "You're the only lead I have," he said. "You might know something without realizing it." I laughed nervously. "I don't know her. I've never even seen her." But Ethan was persistent. He asked if we could talk more over coffee. Against every warning bell in my mind, I agreed. The following weeks were a blur. Ethan and I met nearly every day, piecing together fragments of Clara's life. The more I learned, the more uneasy I felt. Clara's favorite coffee shop? I went there every week. The boutique where she worked? I'd bought a dress there last spring. It was like Clara and I were living parallel lives. Ethan grew more intense with each passing day. He'd show up uninvolved, his eyes wild with desperation. "You're connected to her," he'd say over and over. "I know it." I started having nightmares. Clara's face staring back at me in mirrors, her voice whispering my name in the dark. My friend told me to stop seeing Ethan, but I couldn't. I was in too deep. And then one night, everything shattered. Ethan called me, his voice frantic. "I found something," he said. "Meet me at Clara's apartment." I didn't even hesitate. When I arrived, the door was ajar. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and something metallic. "Ethan," I called out, stepping inside. The apartment was eerily quiet. I moved through the rooms, my heart pounding. And then, in the bedroom, I saw it. A photo album lying open on the bed. The pictures were of me at the coffee shop, me walking to work, me in my apartment. I spun around, my breath catching. Ethan stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. "What is this?" I demanded, holding up the album. He stepped closer, his expression softening. It's you, Anna. Don't you see? You're not just connected to Clara. You are Clara. I don't remember much after that, just flashes. Ethan's voice, his hands gripping mine, the world tilting as I tried to make sense of his words. The next thing I knew, I woke up in my own bed, the morning light streaming through the window. Ethan was gone. So was the album. It'd been 6 months since that night. I've changed my number, moved to a new city and started therapy, but I still don't have answers. Who was Clara? Why did she look like me? And what did Ethan mean when he said I was her? Some nights I wake up and think I hear his voice outside my window. Other nights I dream of Clara's face, smiling at me like she knows the secret I'll never uncover. All I know is this: I don't understand men, and I'm not sure I ever will.